We appreciate all of you that showed up, both candidates and residents. This event is being put on by the Lynn Chamber of Commerce. If you do not know what the Chamber does, we are a group that meets monthly to organize and put on events, parades, Christmas lighting contests, and other things for the town, as well as discuss ways to improve the businesses and business opportunities in town. Our meetings are open to the public, and we invite anyone that wants to come see what we are about to come sit in for a meeting or two. New members are always welcome. This nation's government is supposed to be of, for, and by the people, so it is important for the people to stay informed on important issues, participate in public forums, and vote for the best candidates that share their beliefs and will fight for their values. Tonight, I plan to conduct this forum as fairly as possible, allowing the candidates to introduce themselves, answer questions, and share themselves with you, the town's people. Each candidate will have an approximate 2 minutes to introduce themselves and what they stand for. Then we will ask about some important issues where each candidate will have a chance to answer. We will then be asking individual candidates follow-up and personalized questions. These questions have been compiled from a variety of sources and community members. So let's get started. We'll start down at the end. Jim Dorshak, you can introduce yourself. Got approximately 2 minutes. We're not really using the stopwatch or keeping time.
Okay. Won't need that long. Let it reach. Okay, sir. Thank you. Okay. Hello, my name is Jim Dorshak. I am running for re-election for position 5 on the Lynn Town Council. A request has been made by the majority of the residents of the town to clean it up. The town making it a welcome, safe, and clean place to live. That has been my goal and will continue to be so. The second portion, I don't believe that I will read. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did good for the first one. It's always the nervous one. Hi, I'm Jamie Schmunk, and I've lived in Lynn for approximately 17 years. My husband is Greg. We've been married 16 and a half years, and he's the reason I moved here. We have a wonderful family. We share 3 children and 6 grandchildren, with a 7th on their way in December. We just actually got back from a vacation to go and visit some of the kids. Family is important. Family is first. God is important. Being honest and helpful and kind is also important. The reason that I'm running for town council is because with my 8 years of experience being a mayor of this town, I have noticed at meetings that we have an inexperienced council, and they're not being guided, they're not being given an opportunity for in-person training, and there's no explanation to them. They're confused about why they're making decisions that they're making. And I think this is very unfair to them, as well as to the rest of the community. I love this community. I've been here, I've volunteered here. I'm the current president of the Chamber of Commerce. Like I said, I was the mayor from 2010 to 2018. I was also the swimming pool manager and swim lesson instructor for a lot of your children. And we did that for 12 years. That was giving. That was caring about a community. And I know that there are some things that have been said around this town that are despicable. My husband and I are not wife swappers. I haven't embezzled from the town. Yeah, I get a big laugh out of these sometimes. People will come to me and they're coming out of concern. And to hear some of these things, you laugh it off at first. But then it really gets in here and you get angry. So I would like to be a part of this town's gossip mill stopping as well. I would be more than happy to visit with people, which I did while I was mayor, while I was manager of the swimming pool, to explain things. And I definitely want to work with the other people who have shown an interest in our town by being on our council, and I want to help them. And I want to help our town. Our town is important. If we keep going the way that we're going, we won't be a town. So people need to think smart when they vote. They need to elect people that have the best interests of the town and are willing to work with the people out and about, to be honest, not to be a buddy to somebody that wants something a certain way. You have to be willing to say no. You have to be willing to learn, and sometimes you have to compromise. And I haven't seen a lot of that going on. So please vote for Jamie Schmuck for position number 4, and I will help our town to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Brianna Osborne. I am a married woman to my high school sweetheart over there. Been together for 17 years this year. We have 2 kids, Carly and Liam, who are in the Lynn School District. I have no experience running for council or being in, other than working in the town office as a sub in 2017. I am a go-getter. I do not back down when I'm told no. I like facts. I am very good at it. My husband knows this. I will stay up till 2 a.m. researching if I have to make sure I know every if, and, but that I'm asked. I am really upset with the last thing that happened, and nothing toward the council members. They didn't understand that it was illegal for them to do, but you cannot take public comment away from a regular council meeting. I will never impose on your constitutional right to speak. I think that is very important to have communication. Miscommunication is a lot of our problem in this town, as I know Jamie kind of stated before. I think we all need to get together and come together and stop this. His side, each side, your side, my side. I think we all need to come together. I've spoke about a barbecue. I would love to have the town get together for a barbecue, and we can all address our concerns in a professional and respectful manner. Say what you need to say and move on past it, because together we're stronger. So I've already started my MRSC classes. I've already taken the Public Open Act, which I have with me. You guys can look at that if you'd like to. I've researched into RCW laws. They have a lot of, my meeting that I came to the other night is I want to be transparent to you guys. The camera. I know some people don't like being on camera, but when you're on council, I believe that that should be a part of it, because we're with the times. A lot of people can't come sit in here after work. A lot of people work nights. Some people work swing shift. I think it's great that we would have a camera at every public meeting, and not done by a citizen or a resident of Lynn. I think it should be done by the council. I think the council should offer it as a normal day. We turn on the camera. You guys are able to access it on a YouTube channel that is provided by the town. And if you have questions, come to me. Most of you know where I live. I live up on 7th. If you want my personal phone number, I will give that out. If you have questions, concerns, come to me, and I will do my best to try to answer those questions. I think we need a lot of organization in our town. Our town still doesn't have a fee schedule in the office. We need to get that done. We need to be open to building new houses. We need to bring new businesses in. We need to clean up the town to make it more inviting for outside sources to come in, and part of that is promoting our town. There has been some lack of that. I would like to, as a council member, having a little more position, be able to go to other towns and promote Lynn, because I want to see it thrive. And right now we're just surviving. So I hope you all consider me. I know I don't have the most experience, but I hope to stay in this position, and maybe one day I can run for mayor. So thank you.
I'm Myra Horton, and I have lived in Lynn 83 years.
Wow.
And I have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. And I was clerk treasurer for the town of Lynn from 83 to 2003, 89, to 2003 when I retired. And in 2004, I was elected to serve on the Adams County Cemetery Board and this year is my 18th year. So I have a lot of background in putting budgets together. And I would like to see the town come together, everybody get along, and move the town forward.
Hi, I'm PJ Jacobson. We moved in 18 years ago this month. And we have refurbished 3 large buildings and brought 3 businesses to town. I have the Quilters Retreat, I have the quilting store, I have my birth and baby store, I'm also a midwife and lactation consultant. And my husband has a rock business and he'll be opening a whole neat rock shop here. It will be a definite destination for that. We have poured our heart and souls into this town, and I have worked as an EMT here. I've been on town council before, and before I after I was elected, I went and spent a couple $100 out of my pocket to go to the conferences just so I would learn and know what I was doing beforehand, because it's important to me to know what I'm doing before I do something. So I do have experience with the council. I have been on the board of Adams County Development Council for 7 or 8 years. I've been on lots of other boards with Washington Lactation Consultant Association. I've been on the board of the Leche League of the Washington area, did all their financials for years. And so I do know budgets and things like that. I have done that. But my most important job is mom to 6 kids who are all grown up and grandma to 14. And that's the best job ever. But I really want to see more transparency in this town, being able to bring up issues and discuss them and have work out things, not just have yelling matches. We don't need that. We need discussions. And I like to work through things. I like a challenge. And so I hope you'll vote for me. I'm in position number 5 and would love to serve my community. Thanks.
Does it stay on? Is it on? I'm Denise Speed and I'm running for position 5 also. I've lived here for almost 30 years. My kids went to school here. My daughter was valedictorian. My son was salutatorian. So they're good kids. I know how to raise some things right. I try to keep my yard up because I'm aware of my neighbors. The value of their home depends on what my yard looks like to some extent. So I'm very conscious of property values. I've been clerk treasurer between 5 and 7 years for 2 different towns, and I've been through 2 different sets of ordinances, and they're nearly the same for each town. But my purpose is to serve the public, not to have power over the public. I've had lots of experience with projects, financials, of course, and I just think I can do a really good job. I can support the newer council members so they can learn what's right and what's wrong. It's been such a circus that they have no clue what their rights are. And I think it's really important for them to learn. I can help them learn, and Jamie can help them learn too. And I think that's really important for you guys, because in the end, like I said, everything comes back on you guys. Doesn't matter if we're sitting up here making decisions, it all affects you guys in the pocketbook. So that's the end of my speech. Thank you. Running for position 5.
Hello, I am Christopher Olson and I'm running for position 4. I have lived here for my whole life. I've worked in the construction industry. I really would like to see more transparency. I'd like to see a lot more planning involved with not putting the road over the top of a broken water line, sewer line. I'd like to be a lot more planning involved with that. I don't have a lot of experience as the rest as far as sitting in a spot of government or on a board. I have been on the board for the Wheeling Community Fair for 10 years. I was on the board of the, other than that, I really just want to be more transparent and follow along with what the community wants instead of arguing.
My name is Richard Baldwin, and I'm officially withdrawing from the election. Those of you know me, my wife has been ill for a very long time, and I got to focus my energy on her as well as my own issues. Thank you, and good luck to all you candidates.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Wiedemann. The easy way to remember that is We the Man. So anyway, my wife Dory and I moved here from Nevada about 5 years ago. In fact, I think it's 5 years ago this month. I retired from teaching, special ed teacher K through 12, and loved it, but it was just time for me to let somebody younger move in. I am currently on the Lind School Board. I've been on the board for about 3.5 years. I got on just prior to the pandemic, and we had a lot of tough decisions to make, and we pulled through it pretty darn well. I've been on the board for about 3.5 years, and I enjoyed it. And I've also been helping my wife, Dory, with getting a permanent food bank in Lind, because we are definitely a community in need, and that would definitely help the residents of Lind. While we were in Nevada, I took a short break from teaching and worked for Hawthorne Utilities, which was water, sewer, and garbage. And while I was working for them, I studied and took the state water operators test and passed it. So I think the knowledge that I got from that would be beneficial to the town. I also retired from the military after 24 years, so I have a lot of experience working with a lot of different people. And I think that is also beneficial. I believe that trust is earned and respect is earned. You can demand it all day long, but you have to earn it if you want to be successful. I also believe in open communication. I don't even like to stand up here and talk. I just assume listen to somebody. But I do have some ideas about our water and ways that we can possibly store it. And I will try to get into that. If I'm elected, I would like to get into that and talk to people. And I'm open to suggestions. I don't know everything. And if somebody has a suggestion and they want to talk to me about it, that's great. I'm more than willing to listen. P.T. Barnum once said, you can fool all the people some of the time and some of the people all the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And I'm not here to fool anybody anytime. So I'm running for position 5, and please consider me. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Reed. I am running for council position 4. I don't like talking about myself most of the time, so it's a little hard for me. The reason I'm running for council position 4 is because I think community is extremely important. And I'm probably the newest person to town out of all of these candidates here. I moved here in April of 2021 and bought my first home at fell in love with the home and decided to move here and work my life around it. Since then, I have become extremely involved in town because I enjoy small towns. I enjoy the community. I enjoy everybody knowing everybody. I knew from the get-go there would always be, you know, the he said, she said, all that fun thing, all those fun things that come with a small town. Prior to moving here, I've lived in multiple states. I've moved to many towns in my youth, and I've also learned a lot about diversity and how important it is to have a lot of opinions and a lot of feedback to make a concise decision. My background is in management, customer service, and currently I am a business owner here in the town of Lynn. I own Wheatland Coffee House, and also am a part of the Chamber of Commerce. I just recently become the vice president. And, sorry. Community is super important to me, and I think I go along with the phrase, see it, solve it, own it, do it. And since moving here, I've seen a lot of issues and a lot of things come up that I don't see a whole lot of doing. And I would like to make that change. I would like to be more of a doer and a problem solver. And since moving here, I think a lot of you guys have seen even the few community programs that I've been able to attend to. Like last year, we did the community barbecue for the fires. Originally, it was just supposed to be a community barbecue, but the fire changed that. And I enjoyed seeing everybody come together for that support. And I think we can continue that. And for me, being on council, I feel like I would learn more about the town and be able to make a difference, as opposed to the position I'm at now. Anyways, being a young voice, I think I'd appreciate your guys' vote. I would take everybody's opinion into consideration without any bias, and I'm also a very good problem solver, so I think I'd be a huge asset to this town. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Just a quick show of hands, who's running for position 4? And who's running for position 5? Just thought that would help the audience kind of differentiate a little bit. Some of these questions will be repeats because you guys included some of the answers, but some of you guys didn't answer the exact questions, so this is going to be just quick 2 to 3 words. I don't feel the need to pass the microphone around. If you can kind of raise your voice, there'll just be some quick questions. Once it's time to do longer answers, then I'll start passing it around again. Easy ones to start. What kind of hobbies you got, Jim?
Primarily woodworking.
Awesome.
Still learning.
I like to golf. I like to work in my yard and my garden, and right now my kids are my hobby, and my grandkids especially.
I am a music fanatic. I like to sing. I like to play trumpet. I like to learn anything that has to do with music. I think it's very therapeutic. So that's kind of my thing. And then obviously my world revolves around my kid and my husband.
I like to sew and I like to bake, and obviously it shows.
I love anything needlework, knitting, crocheting, quilting, all the works. Was a music major, so I love anything music, and especially grandkids are the best hobby ever.
Oh, I like to remodel homes. I think most of you know mine's a mess all the time. And then, of course, I work on the cars some. I do some yard work. And I like to sew, I like to eat, Thai food especially, that's about it.
I like to stay busy raising animals, helping out where I can. Being retired, I have a list as long as your arm of things that I do, that I like to do: gardening, remodeling houses, working on automotive stuff, a little bit of everything, furniture, all that kind of stuff. There's always something for me to do, and I enjoy doing it. She lets me go to my garage and I'm out of her hair.
Oh, gosh. I have a laundry list of hobbies. Drawing, painting, singing, writing, playing instruments, working on cars, motorcycles, woodworking, welding if I can. Anything that gets my hands dirty, I pretty much enjoy.
Excellent artist.
Next one, a lot of you guys already answered, but how long have you lived in Lynn, Heather?
Heather.
I think you were the shortest. Myra's got the record the longest, so.
Okay. What is that, 2 years now? 2.5?
5 for me. Be off and on for 48. You're not that.
Close to 30 for me. 18. 83.
I don't really know my number. I was here from preschool till I left when I was a senior, then went to Ritzville, came back, and then I've recently moved back for 2 years, but I've been here since I was born.
17 years.
31 years
And you own a home?
in my home. Well, except for the fire.
We'll just go back and forth with the quick questions so that we're not picking on you and making you go first every time.
Yes, we own our home.
Yes, I don't know.
I own a big house and a couple other buildings, 2 other buildings too. Just my own house.
4 houses, multiple around town. We own our house.
I own it.
If you were gonna pick one profession or career to claim to be or whatnot, what would it be, Heather?
So when I was younger, I actually wanted to be the first female president, but then that turned into a veterinary equine vet.
I retired from teaching, so I think that would probably be it. I would prefer to be ranching or farming.
I don't think I was into vet school too, but I decided I like accounting. I love being an entrepreneur, but the best job ever is being a midwife. Can't beat that. I would be a chef.
I'm currently in HCA, so I take care of people. I always wanted to be a nurse, but I think my true dream would be a music teacher for the grade school or high school.
I failed to mention it earlier, but I've been a school bus driver for 34 years. And I love working with children. The children on my routes are a part of my family, and it means the world to me to be a positive input to their lives.
Mechanic, school bus driver. Most satisfying thing now, besides being married to my wife, is the children that I have on my bus down there. Watch them grow from September to June has been enlightening, and it's inspiring.
Have you ever owned a business, or do you currently own a business?
We did have a business many years ago.
What was that?
Anyway, we did quite a bit with that and enjoyed it.
I was an Avon lady for about 12 years at one point, and when I was a teenager, I found that I liked business management a lot, so I Been in business management for large movie theaters, Domino's Pizza, Olin Mills Portrait Studios, which some of you probably have portraits in your homes. So,
I've never owned a business, but I ran a daycare through high school until past like 8 kids through high school. So it's not necessarily own my own business, but I did run a daycare type thing.
I don't own a business, but at one point in time, I was an insurance agent for several years.
I've owned my baby store for 38 years, my quilting store for, 11 years. The rock shop, we're just a couple of years into that one. We're selling online right now, but it'll be open soon. And my midwifery practice for about 25 years.
We ran a farm for the first 2 years, 15 or so that I lived there.
I've had a concrete construction company, my livestock, and I've got a couple of rental houses that I manage.
My wife and I had an adult family home. We ran, we had 5 residents.
I currently own and operate Wheeling Coffee House, and the reason for that was, again, to kind of see it, solve it, own it, do it. I noticed Kendra wasn't here any longer, and I missed my coffee runs, so I decided to open up a coffee shop. And it was my first business, and so far it's hanging in there. It's doing okay for the small one.
Thank you, guys. Based on what you know about the town and the current government, what do you see as top priorities for Lynn and why?
I'm going first. Okay.
I anticipate these to be a little longer.
Okay. Top priorities and why?
Yes.
So from what I've noticed at council meetings, since coming to them for over a year, is not just the lack of transparency, but also the lack of organization. I've noticed that the council is unclear on the stages at which the town is being run. For example, our current water issue. I know there's steps that need to be taken in order to get the water issue taken care of, but it wasn't until this last meeting that the steps were actually clearly put into place. I think with the proper communication and organization of the council, because the council is supposed to be a team. Whether we agree or disagree on situations, we should be able to come together and make a vote for you guys to proceed into the future. And that's just what I've seen and what I want to see if elected is more communication, more transparency, and relaying the information back to you guys.
I see our town's water issue is probably number one, but also the transparency. We don't seem to get a lot of good, clear, honest answers for things. We get a lot of, I'll look into it, and then that's where it ends. I had another one. Oh, yes. Training of our town people, our employees. Rather than hire somebody at, 65 or 70 or $80 an hour, it would be more effective to have our employees be sent to some kind of training. And that way we can keep it in-house and preserve some of the funds that we have, make them last a little bit longer, and keep us somewhat financially stable. I'm also concerned about the condition of some of the homes in the town. They bring the property values down. Just, you know, people end up missing things because we have those that think they need it more than we do, and they sell it. But then they end up with more stuff. And I think if there was some way that we could make the process more efficient to either get the places cleaned up or get the residents an alternate place to live, I think that would probably help people be more interested in moving to land.
I also would like the water issue is probably the top one, but a little more planning involved with the road projects and water lines being put in first, sewer lines being put in, doing a lot more planning. Also agree with Jim on the training of the employees to be able to give them what they need to be able to do the job that they were hired to do, instead of having to hire outside contractors to come in that costs way more and runs our budget and out.
And yes, we all know about the well issue, and I think that's a problem. The things I don't like seeing the way they're being run now, our financials are in really bad shape. And I called Public Works Board 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now. I don't know if you guys are all aware here, but our council had voted no, not to take the Public Works loan because RCAC had said we don't have money to pay back the loan. And I called our Public Works Board. I said, our council was talked into changing their vote to a yes vote to accept this loan. I said, what happens if we take this money and can't pay Public Works Board back? And he said, well, ma'am, he said, we don't go by what RCAC says. We look at the audit reports. We have to turn in an end of the year report every year, an annual report to the auditor's office. Every town has to. And he said, ma'am, we looked at those. And when a town's deficit is this bad, he said, to this degree, I can tell you that Lind is probably going to have to look somewhere else for funding. So I don't think that 300,000 is coming here. They're not going to give us a loan we can't pay back. So that's my point, is the finances have to be cleaned up to the point where things are functional and we can get our loans and grants, because it's so messed up now, and I don't care what they're saying. Paula said we had 1.8 million and I had only spent 500,000. Well, that's true, but all that 1.8 million is all earmarked for something. So to go spend $43,000 that's not in the budget did not help. So that's why I'm into the finances, because we've got to get our finances cleaned up before we can do the rest. And I will say, when I was clerk treasurer, there was a lot less junk around. I sent the letters out myself, and there was a lot less junk around. The dogs were not barking all night, and that was taken care of by Jamie and me at the office. So things were better.
When I moved here, the first thing I did was get on the board or the committee to work on the wastewater treatment plant. I just was shocked that there was no planning for years. What we had been going for 35 years. It was designed for like 20 years, and we were just spending a lot of money putting Band-Aids on. I haven't seen planning for the future things done very well, and that's what I like to do. We have a bigger water problem than just keeping our wells up. We have to work with the Columbia Basin Water Project. I've been following that for the 18 years that I've been here too. And we have to be planning. We're going to have to use overland water to get it here sometime, because our aquifer is not gonna sustain us forever. So we need to be planning ahead for that, and I haven't seen anybody else talking about it. And we need to be, planning for expenses and things ahead of time, not putting Band-Aids on things and being behind it all the time. That's just not a, good way to run businesses, and this town is a business, and doesn't work well that way. So I'd like to see us get out in front of problems and not just be always behind them.
Well, I want to see our well 7 problems taken care of. Right now, we have one well in town. If we should have a major fire and that well goes down, your household water is gone. So my priorities would be to get well 7 up and running so that we don't have to worry about the water situation here in town.
All right, I am a preventative person, so my biggest thing I think that we have a problem with is preventative maintenance. I think that a lot of our town water issues could have been preventative maintenance. If we maintenance our town, we flush our sewers, we flush our water systems, these are all steps that we need to have in place. I'm also a very big schedule person. I think that everything in our town office needs a schedule. I think that we need to have when we're doing our pro tem mayor, I think that needs to be on a schedule. When we have our cleaning our flushes, that needs to be on a schedule. I think there needs to be a lot more organization in our town that can help prevent, kind of like PJ said, these things from getting to the staff. Also, I would like to get more discussion. I don't know if anybody's kind of noticed, but at council meetings, there's not a lot of discussion. And I think a lot of good decisions come from different inputs and discussion. So I would like to see our council members discuss these issues, involve the public for their inputs to these discussions. And we need to table things. We don't need to decide on things because that's the fastest way to get it done. We need to get it done properly, efficiently, and effectively. So my biggest change would be to prevent catastrophic events from happening by planning, preventing, and working together.
It's tough being at the end of the table when everybody's asked the same question. I want to give kudos to everybody because you all had wonderful responses, all things that I'm sure you've listened to the other responses and thought, oh, I thought of that. But they're all wonderful. Wonderful thoughts and things that should be put into the way that our town government is run. Trying to think of something different. I believe that our town could look a lot better. I believe that our residents pay taxes and they pay water, sewer, garbage, and some of that money needs to be constantly spent so that we're proud of where we live. Burnt up parks, dead trees, it's awful. There are ways. When I was mayor, we had water issues during the summer. And you know what? We watered at night and we coordinated with other large watering entities and nobody lost their football field. The school play yard still have green grass. It may not have been real lush, but we were proud of what we've done. And we did it together by working and talking with the other entities. And instead of forcing people to water a certain way, we asked them. I don't like the idea of saying, hey, you can't water. The suggestion was made if your house number, your address is an even number, that you water on even days. And odd numbered houses, water on odd days. That was the only thing that was asked. But we didn't go around, we didn't have our friends go around and spy. It's nobody's business. It's your yard, it's your home, it's your water bill if you choose. So that was my little different take on it. And I truly believe that our kids should be able to play on a playground and in the parks. Our families should be able to go in and enjoy our parks. But who the heck wants to go out there where the grass is so pokey and it's just dried up and not pleasant? So there's, like has been said, you know, you can work with other ideas and get the community's input on what's important and work around these kind of problems that we just seem to have year after year, especially with our water system.
Thank you. Number one, the biggest problem that we had, obviously, as stated previously, is not enough water. Towards that end, we are working on and trying to get the other well up. If well A goes down, there is no other answer. Unless you bring water in. We're close. I go out in the water early in the morning. I notice there's an awful lot of air in the line, which speaks to the point that the one well we do have is overworking. The second thing is that one of the town people that works in the public works department is training to run the sewer system. He's also being trained in water management, and we hope that he will be able to take over the responsibilities and duties in a short order so that we can have a more focused attempt in that area. Thank you.
Thank you all for your answers, and just a suggestion from the moderator, you guys got good ideas. Whoever ends up winning this council position, think back and remember some of the ideas that the other people had and bring those to the table, adopt them and bring them forth and try to make them happen. Don't know how I thought this was going to be an issue, but without water, we do not have a town. A lot of us have invested in homes and planned a future here. We stand to lose a lot if we run out of water. How do you plan to prevent that from happening? As we drink some water.
Well, as I have said, we are working on trying to get well 7 back up and running so that well 8 will not have to carry the load for the town. Also an unmentionable subject that I believe needs to be looked into is to drill another well. Okay. We cannot exist with one well. We need to have a well that will function all the time in conjunction with the other well, and that we be able to have maintenance to shut our well down, clean it up, do the required works. This all takes money. We try to obtain grants, first and foremost. This is not an easy task, and we have sometimes had to go to a loan and grant situation. And that's the biggest part of that. Thank you.
The water, of course, is the lifeline to any community. Throughout the number of years that I served as the mayor, we were constantly looking into ways to make our water system more effective. And we did several loan grants and some big grants to replace water lines that were leaking because this town's very old, as many of you know. Stuff doesn't last forever. So we worked hard to do that. We actually lowered well 7 over here 100 feet, which was the deepest we could lower it. So that well right now at the 800 feet is where it's going to be. The idea of a new well is not a bad one. And there are grants and loans out there for that. Town our size qualifies for more of a grant than a loan percentage in a package. And you can work between different funding agencies and get grant from Department of Ecology, Department of Health, and put their monies together. And they like to do that. So if we were to think about another well, then I would say let's research all the options that are out there and see which groups will work together to give our town the largest grant, percentage, rather than a larger loan percentage, which is hard for us to be able to pay back. So water is definitely important, and you just have to look at all the options. And I'm thinking that the idea of a new well and getting well 7 so it's functional is along the right lines.
I think we all know that I am a big pusher of grants. I think that although it has said they have applied for grants, there's some miscommunication there. I think we need to have applied for grants 3 years ago so that we're not in this position. I think that there's a lot of things that the town members can do, and I think if we all put our heads together, one idea I had is with our pool. We drain that into our sewer system. I don't think we should do that. I think we should turn the chlorinator off, let the pool sit, burn the chlorine out, recycle that water into our parks and our school playgrounds. I think there's a lot of things that we can do to save money, to prevent us from getting there. If our water does go out, as it was said in another meeting, that we might or might not be on emergency level for a certain grant, we would be in that category of emergency. Yes, your homes might be out of water. Hopefully we never get to that point. But I'm sure that we would then apply for many grants at that point. So it's not a dead, all your home stuff, we have no water. We are a strong community and we can get back that. But to not get to that point, we need to apply for every grant possible. We need to call out to other communities. We need to, how I said, preventative maintenance. We need to get these wells cleaned. We need to get them maintenance. We need to make sure that we have a schedule to make sure that our wells and our systems don't get down to that level. If we have to recycle water, let's do that. Let's get something in place to recycle the water. Let's work together as a community to get to that point. These are obviously a huge issue, and a lot of people are scared. We have people moving, we have people not buying and putting in homes now because of this, which we shouldn't. I don't think we should be going to the internet. I don't think we should be going to certain places and causing a panic. We all need to work together. We can push past this. We need to make sure that our council members, and not just the mayor, we need to make sure our council members are calling every grant and looking at exemptions. There's something called an exemption. Our town qualifies, and during COVID qualified for many grants that were not applied for. There's 1,500 or less grants, there's 10,000 or less grants, and there's poverty or low income grants. We need to look into all of those. So as being on council, I would make sure to push for that, and also inviting companies in like S&J that will give us free quotes as the public wanted to come in and look at things that they have a different perspective. There's nothing wrong with a different perspective. We need to get people trained properly to do their jobs so we're not throwing money out the door. Budgeting and getting rid of people that we're paying to essentially not do their job. So I would definitely do a big budget cut on things that we are throwing money out the door, because we are in a time where we need to start doing a little better on everybody's part.
Well, I agree, we all need to work together. And right now with our water situation, we've been asked to conserve, and that is not happening. And I know my yard is dry, but I adhere to the water schedule because I'm afraid the well's gonna go down and we're not going to have the water. So.
Again, I haven't heard anybody else talk about, future things, yeah, we need to get these wells under control right now, but digging a new well when there's not an aquifer to get into, is not going to do us any good. We need to be planning ahead. I've been going to these conferences and understanding and hearing what geologists are talking about and how the aquifers work and how they're depleting, and we don't have a, you can't always just dig a hole and expect water. So we need to be planning ahead for the aquifers not being able to supply what we need. But in the meantime, we still need to have our wells taken care of. But yeah, it's a big maintenance issue. Things haven't been taken care of properly. And again, I like to fix things before, not, just put Band-Aids on afterwards. That's, very expensive way to run. But we need to be planning way for the future, because I hope to be around here for a long time. And I want my business to work well, and I need water for that. Thanks.
Well, as far as the water issues go, we all know we need to clean out well 7. We definitely do need to put in another well. I think it will be 50 years before we get water from the, you don't think so?
Nope.
Well, if it was 15 years before we got water from the canal system, then I would say skip drilling a well. But I think it's going to be 50 years before we get water from that. So it's a 3-year process to get a well. The first year is the application process for the grant money. The second year is they do a design process, and then the third year is the actual construction. So whenever we start, it's going to be 3 years from the start, and I agree that we should be doing that now. The $43,000 that we just voted on last meeting is for a design project for cleaning well 7. I was under the impression you hire a company to clean and they come in and clean. I just don't understand why you need a design. It's $43,000 and we're not even going to get our well cleaned for that. Is a design to tell someone how to clean it? I'm not sure about that. So I would review that kind of thing. I wouldn't have let that kind of thing happen if I was on council. What was the rest of the question? That's pretty much it. Seems like, and we are. This is the future. We're going to have to all conserve water. That's no question. We're going to have to learn how to just use less in our house. Make sure you have the low flow toilets, low flow shower heads. We're going to have to figure out landscaping that's a little less, uses a little less water. That's just our future for everybody in Washington State.
It's bad being at the end of the line once again.
I'm trying to go back.
Same choices already,
Oh,
but
you can say what they said.
the conserving of the water, but along the other line that I think is more important is the maintenance side and knowing where we're at. And yes, cleaning the well 7 to get it back online. But when you're asking where the static levels are and what processes are they able to replenish in the same time, when you're just being told a blanket, you can't use water. I mean, yes, we don't know myself because I've never been given any of the information that I've asked questions on. And I'd like to know that if there's really this big of a problem, then why is it not able to be produced? To be shown where our levels are in those reservoirs. If they're not able to come back up, let us know that. I mean, and if I'm on the board, I would be willing to let the public know what those employees are seeing as far as the static levels, and if the low flow alarm goes off, what level is that reservoir at the time? And those questions have been being asked for months and will not be let out. I've never been able to get any of the questions I've asked, which is a lot of the reason why I'm running, is because of the questions that I've asked. They don't want to tell me. So I want to be able to see what's going on and put it in a more common person perspective of letting people know what your problem is, and not disagreeing that this process should have started when the first time we had a problem with our well. I mean, it's a 3-year process. Waiting for 2 or 3 years of conserving water doesn't make any sense. I mean, why, as soon as you see that there's a problem, why not start asking for grants and money that doesn't have to come from you and me? I mean, granted, tax by ways it does, but in a smaller portion than us individually per town. And we're not having to raise the prices as much to pay back those loans if you can get those grants.
This is an issue that I have been giving quite a bit of thought to. We have well 6, which we have been told is non-potable water. What would it take to put a filtration system on it? I understand that's the only thing the state said, that it's non-potable because it's not treated water. And the individual I was talking to said he would drink that water any day, but it's because of the lack of treatment. What would it take to repair the reservoir that is currently unusable? I mean, I'm just trying to think of the most cost-effective way of getting water for everybody. What would it cost to put another reservoir up next to the one on the hill there to the south? And during low usage time, when that reservoir gets full, run it over to another one and let it fill. And then we have that much more water. I mean, there's several options. And tonight I just thought of one that I hadn't thought of. The military has a unit or several units that filter water. They clean water for the troops that don't have good water. So they have a filtration unit that, when I was in Alaska, they had a whole unit go up there every summer because they had it's called a joint task force, and they had to filter salt water so that the base camp could have drinkable water and water they could cook with. Go to one of their auctions. You can go to Fairchild, or you could go over to the West Coast and see what they have. I don't know if there's an office you can call. Maybe it would be cheaper if we could buy something like that and filter our own water. It's just, I'm just throwing stuff out there to see if there's anything that's feasible and within our budget reasonably. Thanks.
Water is a big issue. I've talked to numerous people about this particular problem, and there's no easy way to battle it. And if I were to be voted on council, there would be a few things I would look into. One is accountability for our meters. There are a lot of water meters that aren't being read correctly or reading wrong, which goes into part of the town fund. You can't bill somebody accordingly and create a budget off of something that's unreliable. So there's the first step. The second step would be to look at our billing system. You look at the billing system as far as our usage goes. It can be a tiered system for the community, which would again help us better account for the monies coming in to go into any sort of water fund. After that, we could look into drilling a new well. I think we have wells in place that currently aren't being ran. So we could look into that. I also appreciated SMJ's input as far as recycling our water, putting it in a completely different system. We could reuse our water, which would be another idea we could throw out there and make into. I know grants are a huge topic. I am familiar with grants working at nonprofits, and even for my business, I've looked into small business grants and what it takes to apply to them. So definitely fighting for grants on top of low interest loans and many other things that can help our town be more sustainable as far as water goes. I've also, like what PJ said, have looked into the Columbia Basin project. As far as I know, they're about 5 to 10 years out coming this way. So it's not long, and that is a backup, but not the first solution to that. I am also not a fan of Band-Aids. I think preventive maintenance is very important. We need to make sure that our town workers and that the council is involved on the maintenance issues and ensuring that we are taking care of and looking into things ahead of time. And like I said with the previous question, if we got planning in place and knowledge about the steps that we could take instead of blindly voting on something just to get a quick answer, I will fight for that. I will ensure that we have that transparency for the community and see that vote on the table for you guys to push ahead and ensure that we won't have any water problems in the future. It is hard, and conservation is important and will need to be addressed because it is unfortunately a sad thing for our future, but it's important, and we all need to work together in order to achieve that for the time being until we have a more concrete system in place.
Do you have any ideas to revitalize Lind and the downtown business area, make it more inviting and business friendly?
Being a part of Chamber and also being a business owner, I have seen the good, bad, and the ugly as far as our downtown goes. I take a lot of inspiration from other small towns that have had problems with their commerce and economy. One big one that I'll mention is Leavenworth. When back they weren't going to be a town until two entrepreneurs made it a town into the booming tourist track that it is today. Now, I'm not saying we should get to that point, but it is doable. We can create a strong economy for Lynn, and I think what that will take is some revision of codes and some delegation of what our downtown is, and make it possible to where these buildings aren't used as storage units, and we can promote new businesses to coming in. I am also not a fan of roadblocks, so I think if we put revision to the codes and make it easier for people to be able to purchase or rent properties and create a business of what they want, I think we should be able to do that. We should also have clear documentation on what our town's demographics are. Because I can tell you from experience going into the coffee business, I thought I had all the numbers in place to forecast how my business would do, and it wasn't quite what it was, but if we can find a way to make it easier for business owners to make a decision to purchase property and rent property and get a permit, I think we should.
That's a good question. I see a lot of vacant buildings that just seem to be falling apart. I think if I'm thinking of one in particular, I don't want to say which one, but it's got a lot of farm equipment, a lot of stuff sitting out where it doesn't make the town look inviting. It looks like somebody's storing a lot of stuff there that could be moved somewhere else. I wish I knew what the solution was, but I really don't. If we could talk, somehow entice entrepreneurs and give them a reason to come to land. I mean, we've got the demolition derby, which brings in a lot of money.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of land out there. If we could convince some of the landowners, I mean, it's scrub land. We could convince them into turning it into a motorcycle, some kind of a cross-country track or something, and make it interesting enough for people to come and pay an entry fee and want to come to land, spend their money at the grocery store or wherever else. I think that there's a lot of opportunity, and I don't think it would be as expensive here as it would be in a larger town. That's all I got.
I would say on my standpoint, as not really knowing what you could do or how to get the person there, I would want to be more cooperative if elected in the helping them get the permits that they need and helping them get through that process so that they can get their business started. Would be the only direction that I could see myself being more helpful to.
So I guess I'm not sure what we're talking about exactly. If it's retail, if we want to have retail businesses downtown, then we as residents have to support those businesses. So we'd have to figure out what the residents will stay in town and buy. That's how to support those businesses. Without the support, they can't come here. If it's going to be a display of some kind, like an art display, that could draw people in from the road if we have country art, artists from town or from the town or something. That might draw some people in. Those are the only two things I can think of. But if we want retail businesses, we have to support those businesses, and I don't think Wyndham has been very good at that. We all drive out of town to do too much.
Funny, when I first moved in, they had a few people approach me, I don't think you're gonna do very good with a baby starter, there's not very many pregnant women. And have you ever heard of the internet? There are so many possibilities with the internet, and just teaching people and showing them how you can take, these inexpensive buildings and use them in all kinds of different ways. I know our third building looks bad on the outside. It looks great on the inside. I can't wait for you to all see it. That's in our third phase, is to finish the outside, and it's coming. But ones like the bank building, the guy from Tacoma that bought it and is working on it, it's slow getting here, but he came in my business and he said, okay, you talked me into coming. I hope this is good. I spent a lot of time with him and convinced him how, the potential that you have here. And I bring people, I have 10 or 15 women every week coming into town, bringing their money. They spend it at the store. They bring in, they do massages. They bring in Sharon to do manis and pedis and hair things. I try to share my women with, as many other businesses as I can. And just the tax revenue for the town is, really helpful. So it's just kind of thinking outside the box. There's so many possibilities but in educating people to help them understand, what they can do there. There's lots of things that don't have to depend on the town, like pregnant women. I don't have that many here, but that's how I do mostly by internet, and it works great. So it's just a matter of teaching, and we've had a few good nights when I was president of the Chamber of Commerce. We had some good nights with lots of the community putting in their ideas. And I still have those. We need to go back over those and maybe, look at them again for ideas of what we can institute now and get people excited. But the senior center's been wonderful cleaning up and painting theirs. Looks great. There's just a few more empty buildings on that, street that we're working on. I think I've done my share though, 3 buildings. That's, we're getting old. Can't do that so many more. But love to help others.
Well, we do have a number of buildings, and if somebody would come in and buy them and fix them up, and my feeling is the Will's Merchandise Store, why couldn't we do a community center there? Somebody buy it and make a community center, to hold receptions and events.
Insurance.
Well, you charge, and they help pay the insurance.
Okay, guys, this is my exciting question. It's gonna be a long, sorry. So as I said in my statement, Lynn is surviving, we're not thriving. We need to thrive, you guys. So our derby is an amazing thing put on by the Lions Club, and it might sound like I need to join the chamber right now, but I want to bring business in. We need, and this is not against the mayor, we need our leadership to promote our town. We need a friendly face. We need to go to other towns. We need to speak about Lynn. When you go to Seattle, I have posted this on my personal page. I found a magazine sitting in a rack. And do you know what name of town was in that magazine? Ritzville. Did you think that Lynn was in that magazine? No, it wasn't. So for me, I think that a big portion of our town and our council, and me being on the council, I know council is a big responsibility and has a lot of business, but we need promotion. We need to push our town to bring revenue in. So I think that we need a revision of our ordinances and our codes. If we have to make a new ordinance or new code to allow temporary permits for things like farmers markets, I think it would be great to bring how Moses Lake has a farmers market. Dory and Jim have done a great job with the food bank, and I'm sure they have contacts and would be willing to bring a big farmers market downtown. We need to, on Derby weekend, let's throw a street dance like we have before. Let's bring people in so they want to come to Lynn. Let's clean up this town, bring business downtown, and then people will want. We need a warm, friendly, and inviting environment for people to come by here. Right now, people are being run away, and we don't like that. We don't need that. Our council, our mayor, our clerk, everybody in this town really need to step up and start promoting Lynn for a better, thriving environment. I think that social media, although a lot of us hate it, it is a huge outreach. We need to start hosting events all over. We need to start coming together, doing barbecues. If we get a street dance going the night of Derby, for instance, having a kind of vendor / farmers market the week of Derby would bring a ton of business into our town and keep people from not just out at the rodeo grounds, but downtown. Because I don't know if we have watched, but a lot of people that come in, they don't really come to the coffee shop and come to the senior center or talk to people in the downtown. They're just kind of conveyed out there, and I think that we need to bring them back in. So I think having a farmer's market, a vendor, obviously revising our ordinances or some sort of exemption, because I know a lot of people have brought up or wanting to do like a fruit stand, and it's been turned down. We don't turn away business. Business is income. So a big thing I would push for is allowing people to come in because revenue is important for Lynn. So bringing people downtown, having more events. Also a big thing I want to do is, I've been talking about this for a while, I've been trying to get a grant, and when I'm on council I'll have the access to do this, to start a summer camp for our kids. Obviously we need to get our park looking a little better, but I am willing to donate my time, my money. I want to see our youth being talked to. Our kids don't even know. When you talk to kids, they don't know the mayor. They don't know council members. I want to get these kids active in our environment because our community is a lot of older community. We need to get younger people and younger generations to want to come back to Lynn. I'm a generational kid. My parents were here, so we need that to come back into our town. We need kids to say, hey, how I did. I loved Lind. I loved the way it was. We need to bring that back. We need our kids to be involved with people on the council and our leadership. And I think a great way to do that is camps, vendors, fruit stands, just a way for all of us to kind of get together, not just a barbecue, but get together and bring everybody down to spend our money down there. And having fruit stands, for instance, might be able to find local farms, local vendors, people with their own businesses to profit here instead of going to Moses Lake or Spokane for those.
Wow, my head is spinning from all these great ideas from everyone. Would you please reread the question? My mind was like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Do you have any ideas to revitalize the downtown business area and make it more inviting and business friendly?
Thank you. Being the president of the Chamber of Commerce, we always look for ways to invite people to town so that they can come to our businesses. We like our residents to get out of their houses because then, they'll think, oh, I need some milk, I better stop by the store. We have some wonderful events with the Chamber of Commerce. We have an arts and crafts fair. We do bingos. Those kind of things bring people to town. So we're always looking for new ideas on how to bring folks to town. And word of mouth is important, and people from our own town attending those events is important. So we have always struggled with the communication portion of bringing people. We've tried some events with just the internet and had nobody show up. We've tried other ones where we have posters and all kinds of things and people don't show up. So I think that our community needs to be a little bit more community-minded, if you can take that statement, community-minded and attend things that are here locally for you instead of taking off to Spokane for the weekend or whatever people do. I really don't know what they do, but it's very strange when you have like a Mother's Day event and you don't get any mothers or, there are a lot of programs out there for downtown revitalization, and they come with business grants. I think that's an important part, that we need to make sure that we have those groups come to town and make presentations to folks that want to have a business. They will teach you how to write a business plan, and they will give you input on whether your business will be successful and how much it's going to cost you to get it going. So those things are important, and always in my mind is how our downtown looks. It has to be, we have to have, we didn't have parking spaces painted when I became mayor, so we painted parking spaces, and that made it a lot nicer, because then you could actually, see some organization and not have people park sideways and backwards and left and right. So I agree with a lot of the other great ideas. I think that this group up here are a community-minded group, and we just need the help from the community to respond to these things, to be a part of groups like the Chamber of Commerce, and to support the local events that we already have.
Thank you. One of the things I'd like to correct is the assertion that the fruit stand was denied. It was not. It was voted and approved. Number two, I remember back when I was in chamber that there was a person by the name of Julie Flick, and she brought a plan to us to develop the town of Lynn. I was wondering if anything had ever happened about beyond that time.
I haven't heard.
ACDC, the city, wealth of information, and we need to continue to keep But the addition of new businesses, how are we going to get new businesses in town? The environment is very static in connection with, number one, hiring employees. Number two, maintaining business interests. It is hard for them to come into an area. And all of the things that are involved in making the town more presentable to outside influences are all good and well, but we need to maintain an attitude of how can we continue to make the town of Lynn a prosperous, a welcoming, and caring community. And any ideas are worth investigating. Thank you.
How are we doing this, boss?
Thank you all. The Wills Building, I've had that idea for a while, Myra, and maybe on.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The Wills Building, I've had that idea doing a community center for a while. I'm just hoping my property on the other side of the mountain sells. I think there's a lot of pessimism about businesses in town, but the mail order thing and e-commerce is huge. If you can get into cheap real estate, but the problem is getting people to sell it. So, just my take, but I guess I'm supposed to be moderator. These are going to be quick questions again. I won't pass the mic around until I get to a longer one. If you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing about Lynn right now, what would it be?
You come back to me, please.
Yes, sir.
If I could wave a magic wand and it didn't cost any money or anything, I would do what I could to make people friendly and take away the damn gossip mill and have people be decent towards one another and treat people with respect and kindness. That would be just fabulous because, you know, I guess somewhere along my life, that's what I thought small towns were supposed to be.
Short answers.
I think I would say revenue, because everything's based off revenue, and obviously we and everyone else is short on that, so revenue, giving a big chunk of money to the town to delegate properly.
I'd get the abandoned buildings sold and filled with businesses and move the town forward.
Let's just say, get the water flowing. Everything else depends on the water flowing. That's me, fix well 7 right off the bat, at no cost to the town.
The water.
Yeah.
I'd say the water and a town full of people that are interested in the community and making it thrive.
I like this question because I was actually talking about it with my husband today. If we won the lottery, what would we do? And I would supply the town with solar energy and then fix the water.
Back to you, Dan.
I believe that we would just have people one-on-one that would be courteous and kind.
We'll start down here with Heather on this next one. Have you read the published codes of Lynn?
Oh, all of them?
You gotta educate yourself. You want this position, people.
I haven't, I actually have read what is online and what is available to me, mostly concerning businesses, concerning animals, and concerning water, and also how council is supposed to be ran. So those are the areas that I have myself looked into thus far. There are a lot of codes, and I do continue to educate myself to the best of my ability. And if elected council, I do plan on making some revisions just
Next question.
Okay, next question. That was a quick answer, right? Okay.
I have not, but I have researched questions that have come up during town council meetings.
I have not read all of them. I've read a lot of them, but not all
I don't know that I've read all of them, but I've run into 90% of them over the 5 to 7 years that I've been clerk treasurer. And actually, I've had a lot of people in town come ask me a lot of things. But really, you don't have to know them, you have to know where to look for the answer. That's the big thing, and I've already tried to share that with a ton of you guys on where to look for the answers, because they're in there. And our code is, parts of it are ridiculously old and outdated, and we need to fix it. But anyway, I'll put something else.
I agree with her, you just need to know where to find the answers. And when I've looked things up before when I was on council and, you know, and taking care of stuff, but knowing where to go, that's the cool key.
I have been on the site and checked it out.
I am, obviously, a lot of you know, I have water and sewer issues with the town, so I am fluent in water and sewer ordinances. I am more on the prospect of RCWs because all of our town ordinances, most of them need updated. So our town ordinance is supposed to coincide with RCWs, so I'm very fluent in our RCW laws.
Yes. 8 years worth of diving in and out of the code book and writing ordinances, etc., while I was the mayor. Yes.
I have read the ordinances. That's becoming a
So, as was repeated throughout this line, a lot of the codes are outdated, need rewritten, need revised. So, back to you, Jim. Or I guess maybe I should walk down to the other end and start there. Or did I start there?
You started.
Yeah, I started there. Okay, so back to you, Jim. Can you name one code that you'd like to revise, rewrite, and that you can commit to the people of Lynn that you're gonna take the time to do that as a council member if re-voted for? And these will be a little longer questions, so.
The ordinances pertaining to a clean and safe environment, bring them into accordance with number one, the RCWs, if they are not, and to use them to support a welcoming and caring town presence. Specific? Not really. I'd have to look into them and see which ones would be available for that.
I believe that there are a lot of ordinances that are current and proper. What comes to mind the most is all of these extremely old ordinances that we are currently enforcing that should have at one point in time been retired. I think that the code book should be something that is relevant. For example, how to tie your horse up when you're in town, charging vendors a $2 or $3 fee when they come into town. I think when people want to come to town to provide our community with some cool items, that we shouldn't hassle them to come to the office and apply for a $2 or $3 permission slip to set up in town. That hadn't been done for a really long time. There's codes from 1926 that are being enforced or spoken on that really aren't up to date and current. I think that hurts our town. Yeah, if any of you have ever seen the code book, the ordinance book, it starts out and it's handwritten. It's a beautiful document. And then it goes to the old school typewriter, which is irritating to me to read. And then we kind of get into the computer phase and it's a little bit better ink and the wording's a little bit better. But I think it's time to retire a lot of the really old nonsense because it doesn't really apply to life anymore in this day and age in our town. Otherwise, a functioning council should always be kind of looking at the current ordinances and making sure that they're evenly, what's the word? That they're evenly applied, there we go, evenly applied and not just some people held to account and not others. So the way that they're written is always very important.
Okay, obviously we need revised our codes, but my biggest thing is with water and sewer, we need to redo a fee schedule. Our town just still, after 2 years, has not made a fee schedule. We need more accessible way for our residents to come into the town or a website online to access our codes. A lot of people get letters in the mail and then have to come in and put a public request because they're not easily accessible to the public. So I want a fee schedule like Ritzville, Odessa, Harrington, Moses Lakes, OPM, everywhere this has. It is a printed out sheet. When you come into the office, you say, may I please have a printout of your fee schedule? And it is a quick print off and there you go. So I would make it more transparent, accessible to everyone, along with obviously revising a lot of them.
I agree, some of our ordinance needs updated, but we need to get people to follow them. We have a lot of that. This ordinance is for somebody else, it's not for me. And that shouldn't be allowed.
I'd like to see a little more teeth put into some of the ordinances, like the cleanup, and not just passing it on to somebody else to do the job, but getting it enforced. We've got the ordinance to get the cleanup done, but it's not being done, and I'd like to see that enforced more, because that's the reason I'm, one that needs to get it, do a better job myself too, so.
I will say 75 to 80% of our ordinances are just fine, even if some of them are old. What we need to get rid of are the ones that refer to the town marshal and putting people in our town jail with the consequence. We have to have real consequences for the violations of our ordinances. And we've run into a lot of misinterpretation. That's the thing I think needs to be fixed more than the actual code. We have little things we need to fix in the code. There are always things you need to update. You do always have to keep rereading. And in the future, I think it's really important that it hasn't been done in the past. When we make up a new ordinance, we really need to give some idea of why we're doing it, the purpose for the ordinance. Because sometimes things don't make sense why they did it in the past. And when we rescind it, then we find out why they really created that, because it creates a problem that it was rescinded. So that's what we have to do in the future, is put a purpose on our ordinances so everybody understands why it was created in the first place. Oh, sorry.
I don't know any one particular code that I would want to change right offhand, but I would be open-minded to reading and making any changes that you all would want.
I believe he asked for a specific code, and the one that popped into my mind was the side-by-side UTVs that are licensed by the state because they've been deemed safe. And I believe that our ordinance needs to reflect that. You know, if they are legal and they've been deemed that by the state, then they should be allowed on the street.
That is a really good question, and I probably would not have been prepared for that without you, Jim. Thank you for reminding me. Because that code specifically is one of my pet peeves. In reference to codes, like I said before, I am not a fan of roadblocks. And anything that inhibits our ability to have life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, but also safety. I think safety is very important for our community, and as long as we are revising and editing our codes with those values in mind, I'm all for it. The side-by-side and drivable vehicles is big. You cannot police that, you cannot enforce that, because we have plenty of people who go around in golf carts that are not licensed. We have people who use their ATVs and UTVs for spray needs or farm needs, and we cannot penalize everybody because you don't know. You don't know what that purpose they're using it for. So I think, like what was said previously, retiring some of the old codes that don't need to be in the code book. I think one I read was hilarious, something about you can't own 5 hogs, or you can have, if you go through them, some of them are a little funny. But yeah, I think that would be the one that I would push forward first, and then go from there with your guys' input and opinions. That's what I would go for.
I guess I'm snitching on myself, but I have more than $200 worth of building materials in my house. Okay, so that's a code, just so everybody's clear. This is gonna be just a yes or no answer. Hiring a code enforcement officer has been a controversial issue, to say the least. Are you for or against this expenditure? Heather?
I am against it.
I can see the pros and cons to it.
I'm for or against?
Oh, okay. Against.
Against, I did the job myself for free. Against, or
Against us, Mayor.
Against.
And for.
Wow.
Okay. What is one pet project you are passionate about and you can commit tonight to the people of Lynn you will take on as a council member if elected? I'll reread.
we're all looking blank. This isn't good for the camera.
What is one pet project you are passionate about and willing to commit to the people of Lynn to take on if elected to council?
That would be, finding and encouraging, ways to have our children, to be involved in a, safe community project for their benefit.
A lot of things come to mind, but just hung up on the pet project part of it.
It's just something that you feel passionate about, you feel strongly about, and that you're willing to commit to the people that you're gonna do if you are elected.
As a council person.
Yeah.
So it has to be within the realm of council. Okay. I've always thought that the safety part of our town needs some help. The people that wander around at night and take things out of our yards and steal our gas. I've always thought it would be great if you had the money to do it, to have an officer live here in town. Somebody that could respond quickly, somebody that could take care of domestic disputes quickly. When you're in your home and you're looking out the windows at night when you hear noises because you're afraid that somebody's taking the things that you've worked hard for, that's probably the biggest downer of this town. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and I know there's crime everywhere, but dang it, when you move to a small town, you know your neighbors and stuff, and then you have people that are just wandering around at night. Maybe as a council, we could come up with an ordinance that states there's no use of the alleyways by anybody other than the people that live there on that alleyway. Just a thought.
Okay. So mine would be promotion. I think we need to, I will uphold your guys' constitutional rights. I believe the public is our town. So I would enforce in myself to make sure that I'm listening to you as the public, and holding our leadership accountable. I will not back down if I don't think something's right. And I will be your guys' voice, and I will not just pass through things hastily. So I can commit to you as a council, if I get elected for council, that I will put your guys' constitutional rights first. So you can come to me and I will not make rash decisions. I will hold our leadership accountable and I will promote Lynn again.
My pet project would be the town of Lynn has a lot of older senior citizens in town, and some of them are disabled. And I would volunteer to assist these people in my spare time.
I still think the water needs to flow. That would be my #1 project, is getting to the bottom of the well situation and the water meters and keeping the water flowing.
Well, my little dream is to have several different committees in town. Have a committee to help us review our ordinances and replace them, and that way those people will learn what the ordinances say and can share with others down the road. I want somebody that we can teach the finances to, so they can read our financial reports, at least 10 people on each committee, so they know these different functions of town, so they can tell what's going on at a glance instead of having to wait for someone else. And one guy said to me, I have to sleep with a gun because I'm scared at night. And I don't know what we can do about that, but I wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, so I would volunteer to drive around town. I couldn't do it more than twice a week, but maybe I can get other people who don't sleep well at night, and we can take turns driving around our town and just monitoring. We can't do anything about something we might see except report it to the sheriff, but at least somebody driving around might deter something. That's what I can do for the town immediately. Yeah.
I would have to say, my biggest one would be the planning of the water and the streets and getting those, instead of putting roads over the top of broken and dilapidated water and sewer lines, I'd really like to see that fixed in the right direction instead of putting a really nice road over the top of something that you're gonna tear up because you didn't fix the sewer and the water lines underneath them.
I would have to agree with the water. Without good, plentiful water, you don't really have much of a town.
So a good pet project that I would take on tonight if I could. God, there's a lot.
I have been prepping myself, if voted onto council, on the changes that I would make for you guys. And revitalizing codes and bringing in new ones to help support our downtown business and our economy, as well as improving our water billing system and improving our wells and ensuring that we have proper steps in place to replace sewer lines, replace water lines before we go do the roads, or before we do any sort of construction on that one. Our infrastructure is of the utmost importance to me. And I would do everything that it takes to research into these and to vote on the council level in favor of you guys to get these done in the proper order. There's a tremendous, there are a lot of issues, and it is a big question, a big thing to attack. But I think as a team on council with the correct ideas, bouncing off one another, we can get it achieved. Outside of council, I love every single one of your guys' ideas, and I think, no matter who gets voted on, I think we can continue a lot of them without being on council, and I hope we can do that outside of this.
All right, guys, don't hate on the messenger. A lot of these questions came from people in town. They've been messaging me, private messages, whatever, so this is the spicier part of the meeting. There seems to be two camps in town, pro Paula and no Paula. Are you pro Paula or no Paula, Heather?
I don't think that's important for my position.
I would say no, Paul. I would say no.
No. Guess it is an appropriate question.
Yes, it is.
So I'm in support of positive change in leadership.
Ditto.
I'm sorry, but I believe that that is not an appropriate question.
Innocent.
Now, these questions, some of them are going to go to be directed at an individual. And again, don't hate on me. A lot of these came from the community. They would like to hear the answers. Denise, after all the recall efforts and animosity, how can the people of Ring, I'll start that over. Denise, after all the recall efforts and animosity, how can the people of Lynn trust you to work with the mayor and do what is best for our town?
Well, I've worked with several mayors, and I can do what is best for the town. I'm here for the people. It's not against Paula Bell, it's against trying to coerce council into voting for things that they shouldn't be voting for. Do you need me to go on? I'm going to give an example.
I mean, the floor is yours.
Well,
This is the question that came to me. I'm just trying
at
to.
the very last meeting, our council was asked by Barbara Pence to vote on something about utility billing. And the council doesn't vote on utility billing. That's not a council issue. So, I mean, that kind of thing happens a lot. Our council shouldn't be asked to make decisions on utility billing. It's not their thing. They're asked to make decisions on spur of the moment, and they don't get the true information, and that is my real problem. It's not about Paula Bell. It's what is happening during the council meetings, and our people, they have good hearts. They want to do what's right for our people, and they are just being bulldozed, and I don't like that. Was I supposed to, I'm sorry, what was the whole question? That was good.
Basically, just how are you going to work with the mayor after all the animosity and recall efforts, everything else going on?
Well, the council has certain responsibilities. That's all there is to it. You have to do the responsibilities for council. I've been on, as a clerk treasurer, I've been in a lot of council meetings. I know what the mayor's supposed to do, the council's supposed to do, the clerk treasurer's supposed to do. And so I don't think, I can stop it if council is asked to do things that is not within their realm. I guess that's my point.
Jim Dorshak, after you proposed and temporarily passed a rule stopping any public input, questions, or comments at meetings, how can the townspeople trust you to listen to their concerns and needs as you represent them?
Okay, number one. No, I don't need it. Number one.
Oh, never mind, you can write in.
Thank you. That is my point. There are, according to the rules, there are two ways of communicating with the town council. One is orally, the other is written. I proposed, and it was passed, that there be a written statement versus oral. I felt it was more imperative and fair, and it asked and to receive an answer on a particular written question.
Myra, same question. You voted to silence the people a couple times. How can the people know that you're going to represent them and listen to them?
It wasn't to actually silence the people. We had people speaking out inappropriately during a meeting, and that isn't the way it goes. You need to be called on so that, we can address your situation. We don't need people yelling.
Heather, as a business owner and worker of several jobs, you seem to have a unique perspective you can bring to the table. But some people are concerned you already have too much on your plate and you will not have enough time to fully commit and apply yourself to council. How do you respond to these concerns?
That's fair. I do take on a lot, mostly because I see a lot and I feel like I have a lot to add. So I do. And with my experience in business and management, I've been in management for over 10 years. And I've been very good with time management as well. And I try not to let myself spread too thin. Sometimes I do fail at that, but I do have a lot of hobbies which keep me grounded and keep me focused on what my goals are. And if I'm focused and I am driven, I will continue to do so. I will continue to fight for what I believe in. And being on council and fighting for this town is something that I do believe in, as well as my business, as well as my family, as well as all the other jobs that I have, because it's important to me.
Basically, the same question is going to go to the rest of the people. City council requires a significant commitment of time, attending meetings, reading prep prior to meetings, educating yourself, and possibly going to trainings. How will this fit in your life and prior commitments?
I'm retired, what else do I got to do? I'm willing to put in what is needed. I really, over the years of living in Lynn my whole life, I want Lynn to prosper. I want it to grow. I am willing to step up to what is needed to be there.
And I think I've shown my commitment to the town through having learned that recording the camera and YouTube was really hard. It took a lot of time and effort, and I've come to nearly all the meetings and recorded them, and that's for the people. And it's not fun to come, and it's upsetting for me to watch some of the things that I know are wrong going on. So that's difficult to record, but that's my commitment to the community, is to record every single time.
Yes, I'm very busy too, with all my businesses, but I take extremely good care of myself. I've chosen a lifestyle that I don't have to be sick in bed with colds and flus. I was down 2.5 days with COVID, but before that, have been in bed with colder food for over 17 years. I just don't have time for that kind of silliness. So being, very healthy makes a world of difference in being able to do all the jobs that I do and having the energy to work my 16, 18-hour days. It's not a problem. And I have the means to hire more people if I can only find them, to take care of my mundane things so I can do the fun stuff like being on council.
I have time and I pick up my packets ahead of time. And if I have any questions, I make sure that I
Obviously, most of you know my husband had cancer. I have 2 young kids. I work as an HCA. I have 3+ clients, worked online for a billing company. I am younger, yes, but I am driven. And so, although I have a bazillion things going on, I perform well under pressure. I am very good at navigating things. Obviously, if I'm busy, I will find time. I haven't been the best at coming down to meetings just because I don't like the way things are going right now, and I'm trying to push for a better tomorrow. So I want to see Lynn thrive. I've said this over and over, and it sounds redundant, but I will put my time in, and I'm able to juggle 2 kids, a husband, multiple jobs. I've worked at the town pool and working for the school at the same time, so I'm very good at multitasking and performing under pressure.
As a school bus driver, I work a split shift. So I get up early in the morning and drive for a couple hours. And then when I was mayor, that's my time that I would spend down at town hall or with the employees, researching the items in my home. It wasn't really a problem time-wise, and I felt very good and very energetic because I was constantly learning. And that's what being on the council and being a mayor, it's just constant learning because different things get thrown at you all the time. And that's why I want to be a part of the team that is going to be the council for our town so that we can grow together and we can do great things for our community. And it's a schedule. You have your meetings and you mark it on your calendar and you don't schedule over the top of it. So it's, the time is not a problem, and the town is worth it.
Okay, I have for approximately 8 years served on the town council. I make it a habit to go in each and every time prior to council meeting to apprise myself with what is coming on the agenda, to check over the warrants, and to check the financials. And if I have any questions, I ask them.